It's chilly here. I've been thinking a lot about cold today because I saw a movie where scientists found a frozen caveman and brought him back to life. It made me wonder the same question as Justin.
Is it possible to freeze myself and come back to life?
Wouldn't that be cool? But it seems impossible. My frozen fish sticks aren't coming back to life, right? But I started checking, and I found something shocking. This frog was frozen solid in the winter. It was so frozen that if you were to move its legs, they would snap off. There's no way this frog could be still alive, right? But it was! When it thawed out, it was as good as new. What? That's impossible. They were frozen solid. That's almost as crazy as my fish stick coming back to life. What's all the excitement about? Some things that seem impossible are actually true. I found out that some frogs, bugs, and even turtles can survive being frozen. But I didn't find any big animals or people that can do that. So I don't know the answer yet to Justin's question. But I promise I'll find out by the end of the show. Maybe your questions about cold will help me.
Why do you get a brain freeze when you drink something very cold?
Well, Maya, I don't know if I can freeze my body, but I know I can freeze my brain. Maybe that was unwise. How do you do that?
Hey, chill out. I'll show you.
You want to know why I cause you pain? Near the top of your mouth, there's a tube to your brain. It takes blood right up to your brain. This tube is called an artery. It's really very smartery. When your mouth is too cold, it yells cold overload, pushing warm blood to your brain, and that's what causes pain. So don't you do it again. Now that you know, you should drink me slowly. Yeah!
Is there such thing as the abominable snowman?
Well, Raphael, I know a girl who lives in the Arctic where there's a lot of snow. Let's ask her. Hi, Kylie. I'm just wondering, have you ever seen an abominable snowman?
Oh yeah, I've seen one before.
You have? What did it look like?
It was really big.
Whoa, when did you see it?
And Halloween?
Halloween?
Yeah.
Kylie tricked me. But some people really do think they've seen an abominable snowman. In the Himalayan mountains in Asia, they call it a yeti. A flat earth corner! I saw the abominable snowman with my own eyes. Buy a ticket to see for yourself. I'll guide you up the mountain if you dare. I even took a picture to prove it's real. Okay, so the picture doesn't do it justice. But for just $5, you can see the Yeti with your own eyes. The abominable snowman, or Yeti, whatever you call it, is just a myth. People who think they've seen it probably just saw bears. But I found another explanation. People in the mountains sometimes see shadowy figures and think it's the abominable snowman, but it's actually an optical illusion. When you're high up in the mountains and the sun's behind you, you can see your own shadow in the clouds. Ah! 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 You're saying I was scared of my own shadow? Well, what about this footprints I saw? Huh? What do you say about that? I need an answer. Whoa! I've seen that same footprint right here in the attic. Just kidding. But some people have seen huge footprints in the mountains, like this one. I wonder if something else besides a Yeti could have made them. Maxim and Kiana are going to help me find out. I printed out some other tracks that we do know. a grizzly bear's front and rear paws, a black bear track, a wolf track, and a human boot track. Let's see if our detectives can find a match and solve the mystery.
So that's a Yeti paw.
I think we should try on some of the tracks on the Yeti paw to see which one's the more similar.
Okay, let's try that one first.
The grizzly bear's front paw.
That kind of looks similar. There's still some differences.
Yeah, it's not long enough, though the front part seems to fit.
Let's try this one.
Okay.
The black bear paw.
No.
I don't think that fits.
What about the wolf paw? Nope. The human boot.
No.
None of those prints look exactly like the Yeti print.
Maybe we should put this and put another bear paw just to make sure. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Smart. They're using both the front and the rear bear paw to make it fit.
Yeah, I think this is it. It's big enough.
It's
I
wider.
think it's good.
That makes sense. If a bear makes a print with his front paws, then steps just behind it with his back paws, the combination looks like a giant footprint. That's probably what fools people. Thanks, detectives. So, to answer the question,
Is there such thing as the abominable snowman?
well, from what I can see, there's no proof it exists. Aww. Psst. Hey, Zoe. You're ruining my ticket business. Don't you have another question to answer? Come on.
Do Inuit really live in igloos?
I checked, and Inuit now live in modern houses. They also use modern snowmobiles to get around. But the Inuit invented all kinds of things that made life possible in the far north. The Inuit invented snow boots.
These are gummits, and they help keep our feet warm, and they help us keep up on the snow instead of sinking.
Here's something else.
Did you know that Inuit invented the kayak?
That's right. The Inuit invented the kayak, a kind of boat that can travel through icy water. They also invented goggles. And they even invented dog sleds, which were the fastest and furriest way to get around the Arctic before snowmobiles. But the igloo was the Inuits' most famous invention. Outside temperatures can get as low as minus 45 degrees Celsius. But inside an igloo, it can warm up to 16 degrees Celsius with just our body heat. Ah, it's so cold. I want to be in an igloo. An igloo is a smart way to stay warm. I think I'm going to ask my friends how they stay warm.
Ask a friend. I would make a pile of snow, and then I would make a kind of like a dent inside, and I would probably lay in it.
I put many layers of clothes. First I put tights, then I put my normal pants. Then I put a third layer of splash pants.
I would keep my body active so I keep warm. Bring a bowl of soup with me outside and eat it because soup is hot so it could warm you up. Put on a jacket, like 4 sweaters. I would go inside my house.
Those are all great ideas, but I think you need some expert help.
It's too late.
No, it isn't.
She works in the Arctic where it's cold and Arctic, and the seals like to Barctic. Please welcome Fantastarctic, Marianne Velardo.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi, I didn't know you were bringing a friend. Nice to... Where's his hand? So, do you really work in the North Pole?
Yeah, I do research in the Arctic to understand how climate is changing the ways animals and people live and get food in the extreme north.
What's the coldest you've ever been?
I think it was about minus 30 degrees, but it was very, very windy. That's why I wear a special suit that's even warmer than a regular coat. It can go about at minus 40 degrees, I think.
Yeah, it's really thick. It must be warm.
Oh yeah, it's really warm. It has a lot of insulation, which means that it keeps the warmth of your body inside the coat and keeps the cold air outside.
Yeah, I definitely want to wear one of these if I was in the coldest place. But here's a question from Chelsea.
How do animals stay warm in winter?
Yeah, what do animals do in the cold? They can't just buy a coat.
I wonder if it comes in pink.
I checked, and some animals obviously have built-in fur coats, and sheep have wool coats in the winter. In the summer, ranchers shave off the wool so the sheep don't get too hot. We use the wool to make sweaters and blankets to keep us warm.
Woohoo! Win-win!
Birds keep warm with their feathers and fuzzy stuff called down, which we sometimes use to make comforters and jackets. But I noticed something about animals who live in really cold places.
Yeah, what's that?
They have a lot of fat on them.
Does fat have something to do with staying warm?
Yes, warm-blooded animals have to keep their bodies at a constant temperature. So many Arctic animals have what's called blubber, a kind of fat that insulates their core. It's sort of like what my cold weather suit does.
I've worn a wool coat and a down coat, but I've never worn a blubber coat. That gives me an idea for...
My Great Challenge!
My challengers today are Ruby.
Hi.
And Jaden.
Hi.
Are you ready for a very icy challenge?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, imagine you're seals in the Arctic. And you're trying to catch fish in icy water.
It's so cold, I can barely put my hand in it.
Your challenge is to reach into the icy water and grab as many fish as you can in 60 seconds. But don't worry, you're seals, so you have a blubber coat. Marianne will show you how.
So first, you have to dip your forearm into this tub of shortening.
The shortening acts like the seal's blubber. Pretty squishy, huh?
So weird. It feels so, like, slimy.
And now, just like seals, you need some skin to hold that blubber together. So let me help you put that on.
That glove's also full of blubber.
There you go.
This is so weird. Whoa.
Okay. Now the skin.
Is it slimy?
Yeah.
Okay, time to go diving in the icy water.
Remember, the one who gets the most fish wins. On your mark, get set, fishing!
There's one. Come on.
Go! Find them!
That's nice. One. There's another one.
Only 12 seconds left, and it's tied up at 3-all. 4-3 for Ruby.
One more.
Jaden ties it up with 5 seconds left. Ruby gets one. Jaden reaching for a fish.
Okay, time's up. Jaden, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ruby, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so Ruby, you're the winner.
Woo!
Okay, so I want you both to put your other hand in and tell me the difference.
Okay.
Oh,
That's way colder.
Yeah, that's because on the right hand, you have the blubber like a seal.
Yeah.
And on the left hand, you're a human.
Right.
Okay,
Because you guys were such great seals,
your reward is you get to keep the fish. Ryan had a question about animals without blubber.
How do fish live under the ice? It must be cold there.
yeah, good question.
Fish don't have blubber. How can they not freeze under the ice?
In the cold, fish can slow down their body's functions, so they use less energy.
That's like a video I saw about frogs and how they freeze.
Yes, frogs can do that because they are well adapted to their environment. So are Arctic animals. We've learned about marine mammals that have a thick layer of blubber so that they can live in the Arctic. And then Arctic fish can survive in extremely cold temperatures.
Oh, so could we humans slow our bodies down?
Could I freeze myself in the winter and come back later like a frog?
No, humans aren't adapted to do that. You know how you shiver when you're cold? It's your body working hard to try to stay warm. In really cold places, your body tries to keep its core warm, and then your fingers and toes are extra vulnerable to frostbite. We could die in extreme cold.
It's not looking good for Justin's question about how we can freeze ourselves and come back in the future. But I'll keep checking. Thanks for helping me find stuff out, Marianne.
My pleasure.
Marianne said we can't freeze ourselves in the snow and thaw again like frogs. But what if we had a super techno freezing machine? Let's find out.
Hi,
John.
Hi, Zoe.
I'm here to see your high-tech freezing machine.
Okay, but we're gonna have to get dressed up first.
Okay.
Let's go.
I'm at the National Research Council's climate chamber, where they can make it as cold as Antarctica.
Wow, it was so hot outside, but it's so cold in here.
This is our climate chamber.
It's basically like a giant refrigerator. What do you use it for?
Oh, we use it for all kinds of things. We test trucks and trains and tents to keep people warm in the winter. Anything that's outside, we can test it inside.
Cool.
Very cool.
Woo! It's winter again!
Whoops. Sorry, having too much fun. But here's a question from Dario.
Is the South Pole colder than my freezer?
Oh, the South Pole is much colder than your freezer. It can get as low as minus 89 degrees C at the South Pole. Your freezer's probably only minus 20, so it's very much colder at the South Pole.
Well, I guess at the South Pole, a freezer would be a good place to warm up.
On weather reports, I see something called the wind chill. What does that mean?
When the wind is blowing, it takes heat away from your body, so it makes it feel much colder than the real temperature.
How big a difference is it?
We could find out if you like. We have a big fan.
I think you mean a ginormous fan. It was so cold in here before, but now it's even colder.
It feels even colder.
It does.
I don't think I've ever felt colder cold than that.
That felt like minus 65 degrees C. It was only really minus 30 degrees C, so that's 35 degrees colder with the wind.
It was like we really were at the South Pole.
I could really use a hot chocolate now. Hey, what would happen if you took hot chocolate and put it in the climate chamber? Would it turn into instant ice cream? Some of my friends did an experiment like that.
They live in Nunavut, where it's seriously cold in the winter.
2, 3, throw.
Whoa! So cold that if you throw hot water, it freezes before it hits the ground.
Pretty cool, huh? Think we can try something like that?
Let's go try it. Ready, set.
Wow! The water froze in midair.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is pretty cool. That was awesome. Being a scientist looks like a really cool job.
But now, let's answer Michael's question about freezing stuff.
How cold would it have to be to freeze a ball of iron all the way through so that when you drop it, it shatters?
Okay, so gummy bears aren't exactly iron, but we're gonna see what happens when they get frozen solid.
First, let's see what happens when we hit one that's at room temperature.
It just got squishier.
It's just a little bit dented.
I wonder if the frozen one will be different.
Let's try it.
Yup, that one's frozen solid.
It shattered into 1,000,000 pieces.
So, when the gummy gets really cold, it turns almost into glass. The molecules stick together just like the molecules in glass. So when we hit it, it breaks just like glass.
Interesting. But could you freeze an iron ball so cold that it shatters?
You could, but it'd be pretty hard. Iron balls are made to be strong.
Uh-oh, do try this at home.
Want to see for yourself how cold changes things? Take 2 identical rubber balls, or tennis balls. Put one in the freezer, one someplace warm. The next day, see how differently they bounce. Check this out.
The frozen one hardly bounces at all. Let's see that again in slow motion. Exact same kind of tennis ball, but when it's frozen, it loses its bounce.
But what would happen if people were frozen solid? Have you ever tested that?
That would be a very bad idea. We don't have the technology for that just yet. The water in their cells would freeze. That would kill them.
Yikes. Well, thanks for helping me find stuff out.
You're welcome.
And that takes us back to Justin's question that warmed up my show. Is it possible to freeze myself and come back to life?
The big answer is... no. We can't freeze ourselves for the future just yet. We die from just being frozen. But maybe that's why people have invented ways to stay warm and survive in the cold. We invented clothing that keeps us warm in extreme cold. The Inuit invented igloo shelters and ways to get around in cold places. We learned to build big buildings that protect us from winter weather. We even have climate chambers to test how our cars and machines will work in the cold.
We humans are pretty smart. Cold may be dangerous for us, but we've invented all sorts of ways to outsmart it.
I shall defeat you.
Okay, maybe some things the human mind just can't solve yet. Ow. Oh, see you next time for more finding stuff out.
Cause you pain near the top of your mouth, there's a tube to your brain. It takes blood right up to your brain. This tube is called an artery. It's really very smartery. When your mouth is too cold, it yells cold overload, pushing warm blood to your brain, and that's what causes pain.